I don't care about the morale here. I'm saying legally, we can just jump right into it, man.
You don't
like,
care
these
about the
judges want to play
morality
games
of
with
that?
everything. At the end of the day, do I care about morality like in my own life? Sure, but I care about what's legally allowed and not allowed.
What
right?
about the morality in these people?
Well, here's the thing. I don't care. They're not legal citizens. That's the thing.
So
they're
like
not here legally. What's up? How old are you?
I'm 21. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Right,
I
perfect.
can. What are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts? How's Trump doing?
I'm definitely not happy from what I've seen from him. This was my first election that I voted in because 21. I voted for Harris begrudgingly because I don't super align with the Democratic Party. But I feel like
that's fair.
I've been pretty vindicated in that vote. I think a lot of the stuff that he's been doing with the Alien Enemies Act is really, really bad. I think I think the pardon of the J6ers was really, really bad.
Here, let me before we get too far. In terms of the J6ers, I will agree with you kind of. I think that most of them, I think pretty much all of them served enough time according to the crime itself between trespassing and even assaulting an officer. I don't like that there was pardons on some people and other people should have actually maintained. What is that called? I always forget the name of that. It starts with a C. God, chat, help me out here, dude. It's late.
Oh, the commutations.
Yeah. I would like to have seen more of those because I think there's some people who definitely should have kept that on their record instead of having it removed. I will agree with that. I think that a lot of people got charged very incorrectly, and I think Trump would have been smarter or his team to have gone through each individual a little bit more with a fine-tooth comb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think some pardons were definitely justified, and others were maybe not pardons. You know?
I mean, the fact that he was running on not pardoning the violent ones and then pardoned all of them, I think was
not all of them. I think 9 still got that. But I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. What was the other thing you said? I'm sorry. I got lost in the sauce on that.
The Alien Enemies Act deportations.
Deportations. Yes. So what is your issue with that?
So I've been following the legal battles going on right now, and
sure.
Assuming that what is being given to the courts is accurate. I think there's been a really bad problem with trying to get people out as quickly as possible without giving them the ability to basically challenge their deportation. I don't know if you've looked into JGG at all. The lawsuit, basically, they were rounding people up, shipping them off to I think Harlingen airport in Texas, and not even telling them where they're going. Not giving them any ability to appeal out to a court or reach out to lawyers or even tell them like, hey, you're being deported right now. I think that's a really.
Do you have a particular individual you want me to look into? Because this company that looks like a gigantic cash grab when I pull up their website.
JGG
from the ACLU.
Yeah, it was pursued by the ACLU, but it was representing a couple of unnamed plaintiffs. It was like JGG, and then there were a couple other
unnamed plaintiffs. I need some information on these plaintiffs, otherwise I can't really give you an opinion.
Well, so if we establish that these people weren't given an opportunity to challenge their deportability, I would assume that we would think that that's a crime or that's a problem anyway, right?
Well, I mean, it depends because in some cases there is no challenge. If let's say they committed a crime where they were here illegally, that's automatic deportation with no judge in sight. You don't need a judge for that. Also, if they broke into the country once, received due process, was kicked out, and then were to return to the country, again, same situation. You just get deported. There's no judge. So that's why I asked for these circumstances specifically, because I may or may not agree with you.
So are you familiar with the concept of like a third country?
You mean like as an option to deport? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like if you have valid withholding from your home country, sometimes they'll send them to a different country. And there's a current lawsuit going on right now where like they were not allowing them to challenge their deportation to a second country or challenge their deportation to that initial country. I think that's how we ended up with cases like Kilmar Abrego Garcia's. And I feel like not giving the person that you're planning on deporting the ability to say like, hey, I have this withholding. Hey, I have a withholding from this other country that I may be shipped off to. Hey, I'm not who you think I am. Hey, I'm not like, applicable under the Alien Enemies Act. I think that's a super, super important distinction to make. And the fact that they were trying to get these people out of the country before even a day had passed. I'm pretty sure they were in ICE detention like 2 days before they were put on the plane ready to be shipped out of the country. I think that's way too fast and way reckless.
I mean, some people in some cases are obviously going to fall through the cracks, right? I mean, this happens under every administration to some degree. I think it's just interesting that it's, when we had Joe Biden and with the borders, how he was handling it. When you have 10 million, let's use the conservative number that the left likes to use. Let's say around 10 million people over the course of just a few years. There's going to be some mistakes made, right? And to me, and listen, I agree. I think if there's mistakes made, there has to be, they have to be corrected. I mean, there has to at least be an attempt to correct those mistakes. But when you're trying to fast track and you're trying to keep up with the amount of unfettered illegal immigration into the U.S. by basically bastardizing the CBP-1 app and expanding it in 2023, which basically bypassed paroles and proper background checks, which is questionably unconstitutional. I would like to see the Congress go back on that idea, but that's neither here or there because it hasn't been challenged, so I can't really use it as an argument. I think it's crazy that they allowed that, but I digress. The point I'm making is that to assume that the government's going to operate in just completely perfectly when it comes to deportations, it's kind of unrealistic. I mean, all I would like to see is that if mistakes are made, that they are corrected, at least attempted to be corrected. And when it came to Garcia, the withholding, I mean, I get how it was overseen. I get that. I think that what they should do, if people, all I see on Twitter right now is I see a bunch of Democrats complaining about Donald Trump wasting money on whatever. Sure, fly him back, put him in front of a court, remove his withholding, because the thing he was here for in terms of the Vario 18 or whatever that organization's called is no longer a threat. Remove his withholding, put his butt back on a plane, and ship him right back to El Salvador.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly fine with that too. But I do think it's a problem that he didn't follow through that process.
Well, I mean, you can't force El Salvador to do it, right? I mean, what are we going to do? Sanction them? Are we going to kidnap them and cause an international incident? I mean, I know that he could do more, but does he have to, or does he have to just show a little effort? If he was smart, he would just do it. But I think that he would be, I think he doesn't want to be perceived as being weak in the situation. So I think that's the problem. So I agree.
I'm sure we could probably agree that taking, even a tiptoe of a step in the direction would probably be better than not taking even that. But like when the district court was asking like, hey, can you give me status updates on what you're doing to facilitate his return? He was basically like, oh, well, did you know that he is a member of this organization? Like that was the steps that they were providing the district
I know,
court.
but all they have to really do, because I think they're asking too much, right? If Trump just simply claims, yes, I've tried, and they don't want to give him up, and he goes, and they're like, what is the level of attempt here, right? So all he's been ordered to do is to facilitate the return. If El Salvador were to agree to release, that's all. So there's no like rule saying how you have to do it. They're not saying like, okay, you have to put sanctions on them. You have to block the oil. You have to make sure that they're completely isolated from the world. No, the court's not telling them to do that. First off, the court couldn't possibly tell them to do that because they have no say when it comes to foreign affairs. That's not how it works. All they can do is say facilitate his release if he's released. That's all they can possibly do. That's the extent of the power of the Supreme Court in this situation, which is fair. So if they release him, I think Trump should fly him back just long enough to fly him right back there. I mean, I think it's a gigantic waste of money. But yeah, that's my opinion.
But so circling back to the initial thing, because Garcia wasn't even deported under the Alien Act. I was just saying that like this sort of recklessness leads to these constitutional problems of facilitating somebody's return who's in other jurisdictions. When it comes to the Alien Enemies Act, I don't know. I feel like it's just like, especially when, so I don't know how close you followed this, but so JGG ended up getting appealed up to the Supreme Court, right? And the Supreme Court ruled that the alien enemy deportees are entitled to habeas corpus challenge to your detention.
Sure.
But like that specific route of challenging it. And then after JGG was given down from the Supreme Court, which ruled that not only do you have habeas, but you also have reasonable notice to you must be given reasonable notice to file for habeas. Immediately after that, they tried to deport the class again, um, on the grounds that I think it was less than a day constitutes their reasonable notice of habeas, and then they tried to deport them again. I think that shows like a bad
you might need to educate
engagement.
me. What is the reasonable notice of habeas? What is the time frame? Is there a known like a actual legal time frame, or is it just?
I think the typical time frame is like 5 days to a week. That's the typical time frame that government processes were going on, and I think that's what they were ruled to adhere to after it was found that they weren't complying with the JGG ruling. So 5 to 7 days is probably around what we're looking at. But I think it was Ketanji Brown Jackson who said in the case, like, it is kind of ambiguous what reasonable notice means, but we can all agree it doesn't mean less than 24 hours. Like you need to have a reasonable ability to reach out to your legal counsel, for that legal counsel to get in contact with you or whoever's holding you, to give that legal counsel the ability to file in the appropriate court. Like that's going to take more than a day.
Oh, I'm looking at the guidelines for habeas corpus, and it is all over the damn place. Some of these say like in certain aspects, like up to like 60 days notice, which is insane. Yeah, let me isolate this down a little bit because I would like to know. I'm not gonna bullshit anybody. Like if I don't know something, I'm not gonna.
I think the case. Let me.
General limits.
The case that's dealing with it right now, the reasonable notice of habeas is, I think, WMM versus Trump. There was already a Supreme Court ruling on it, but that was on the grounds of a preliminary injunction. So now it's getting tossed back again. The final ruling. Yeah,
I'm not seeing any specific. I mean, this is gonna be hard to argue in court because I'm not seeing any specifics in terms of like how short it can be. I'm seeing limitations of like 6 months on a lot of this, like in terms of how far it can go, but in terms of like how short it can be, I'm not seeing really. There isn't a fixed time on habeas corpus petitions related to deportations. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in here for it.
Do you think that we could agree that under a day's worth of notice is probably not a good faith adherence to reasonable notice?
It's definitely not good faith, but I don't care about good faith. Is it legal? That's what you have to care about. Legality is what I care about. Not
you don't care about the good faith.
Not
adherence?
really. No, bro. This is politics is a blood sport, dude. Make no mistake. You think like any side has taken the high ground in the past 2 decades?
No, I'm not saying that, like, but if we're, supporting this president, we should probably think that he's engaging with the law in good faith, or that he's treating these people with the like adequate amount of rights that we believe that he's allotted. I think it's reasonable to say that, like, we should be out, like, allotting people more than a day to challenge whether or not they're deportable before we throw them out of the country and throw our hands up because we're not allowed to bring them back.
Again, I just, the only thing I ask is like legality, right? Like it's not really about my feelings. Like if you have a problem with that particular legal system, that there should be a standard, like then there, yeah, you need to ask for legislation for it. I don't know what else to say. If there's no fixed time, I don't know what to tell you. Like I guess I agree that there should be a fixed time. Maybe give a 5-7 days, like you said. But since I'm not seeing anything that indicates it needs to be, it is what it is.
And you're not willing to touch like the moral question of like
listen. I just told you I'm morally on your side. The problem is legally it doesn't matter. That's
I mean, I would disagree that legally it doesn't matter because SCOTUS shot him down twice on it. But I don't know. I feel like
on the time frames.
Yeah. So WMM was the case that got appealed up to SCOTUS that said, this was the quote: under circumstances notice roughly 24 hours before removal, devoid of information about how to exercise due process rights to contest that removal, surely does not pass the muster. That was
this sounds like feelings. This is all feelings. That's interesting. This isn't law. This is just feelings. This isn't law. I mean, you're right. Listen, I don't disagree. What do you think about him issuing Section 1, Article 9, Clause 2? What do you think about that?
Issuing I need a little bit more information.
It's just suspending habeas corpus. What do you think?
I definitely wouldn't be in support of that either.
You think that would make him a dictator if he utilized that?
I probably wouldn't say it would make him a dictator. I probably wouldn't even say that it's the most dictatorial thing that he's done. But I definitely wouldn't be. Again, it's about like good faith adherence to these people's rights. If SCOTUS ruled that like the appropriate venue for these people to challenge whether or not they're an alien enemy is through habeas corpus, and then Trump goes, okay, well, we're just going to suspend habeas so these people aren't given the ability to challenge their deportation. It's like, okay, are we just going to start deporting whoever we want to? Like that feels like a super like tiptoeing around these people's rights just because you know that it's inconvenient for your deportation agenda.
Well, I mean, every turn Trump takes, he's getting blocked by universal injunctions. I think what's going to happen is that article will be issued because he's being forced to issue it. Because I think the Democrats are being completely unreasonable. I mean, you look at Obama. Well, you look at Obama's deportations, and he violated even more than all of this, and not a single Democrat gave a damn.
But I'm not interested in like the super party.
But the precedent is my point. The precedent is my point. And what I see from Democrats is just constant hypocrisy, and it drives me fucking crazy, dude. Drives me crazy.
I understand, and there is a problem with hypocrisy on the Democratic side. I would agree.
I just get really sick and tired when I see Democrats on X and everywhere else in the world claiming Trump is the bad guy from World War II and the ICE is the Gestapo. But there was none of that energy during Biden, or not Biden. Well, I guess a little bit of Biden, but none of that energy during Obama. None of that energy during Clinton. None of it. Zero.
But don't you think that these people should be given the ability to challenge their designation as an alien enemy?
If they're here illegally, no. I honestly, if you want to know my honest to God truth, if you're here illegally, bye. That's how I feel.
How do you, if you're not given the ability to challenge your designation, then how do we know you're here legally?
Well, when you get arrested by ICE and they keep you in a detention center for a period of time, and you're unable or incapable of showing or proving your citizenship, how hard is it for you to prove your citizenship personally for you? How hard would it be for you to do so?
The means by
Let's
which
say you were arrested, you didn't even have an ID. Let's say you got arrested right now, you didn't even have your ID on you. How hard would it be for you to prove you're a U.S. citizen?
You proving your identity would be through challenging your designation. That's what that would look like.
Well, you're being held. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing. That's what these ICE officers are doing. They're holding them. They're asking questions. They're keeping them.
Well, I mean,
for at least a small period of time, enough time for you to be able to be like, hey, my social security card is 5 blah 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 blah. My driver's license number is this. I mean, I can easily just dish this out. I mean, I'm not obviously going to because I don't want my.
In JGG and NWMM, they ruled that the Trump administration was not complying with that.
Well, I don't know what does not complying. Like, what is the specifics?
Like there was not an opportunity between them being detained
they're not asking
by
him.
ICE.
They're not asking him questions. They're just throwing him in a van and then driving him to a plane and shipping him out. There's nothing happening.
They were giving them. Well, yes, there is actually reports of them not answering the question of the deportees, but they were also giving them documents that they couldn't read because it wasn't in their native language. And they were basically pressuring them to sign it, and then that was the notice of their deportation, and then they ended up getting taken away.
Their native language. So I think it's, if you're born in the U.S. or you're a U.S. citizen, don't you learn English in school? Am I tripping? Isn't that the standard? Is there any school that in primary school language?
What if you're a legal immigrant?
Is that a thing? If you're a legal immigrant, yeah, I'm pretty sure you still have to learn English. Am I correct? Am I missing something? Are there legal immigrants? I guess if you're born here and you were isolated. Okay. Yeah, I don't know any primary schools that are state-ran that are teaching Spanish over English, so it'd be really hard for me to believe that a person who isn't speaking English, but they're speaking German or French or Spanish, it'd be really hard for me to believe that they're a U.S. citizen. I'm just saying.
Is that the bar that we should, like, you don't know English, so
I think
we can throw you
bar.
out?
I think it's a damn good bar. Well, listen, they're deporting these people. These people are just normal people, right? How are they finding out that they're from Honduras or from Chile or Argentina or from China or from Nigeria? How are they finding that out? Because they're obviously asking them some questions, right? They're not just shipping them off to some weird island, right? They're shipping them somewhere.
The problem
so how are they figuring out where to ship them to?
If these people aren't given they were all going to El Salvador. That's where the AEA deportation.
No, they're not all going to. Oh, those ones were, yes, but those people, yeah, that's a whole different thing. But I mean, like, just in general,
that's the case that I was talking about. Like, they weren't given.
Well, you're talking about the people who had like criminal backgrounds. These people that were pulled from jails, or as they're coming out of jails. Those people.
The JGG guy got, or one of the people under the JGG class action was pulled from an asylum hearing.
Was pulled from was he denied asylum at that hearing?
He didn't get the I'm pretty sure it was before the.
So he didn't even get through the
conclusion.
door.
It's not
How
that
long
he
was
didn't
he in
get
the
through
country?
the door. It was
How long was he in the country before he was seeking asylum? Did he violate that? Did he violate the time frame of how long he was in the country? Are you asking these questions? There's time frames you
No,
can do this.
I'm saying you were saying that we were pulling these people out of jail to frame them as like super violent, but this person was a free man and he was pulled from an asylum hearing before the litigation of that asylum hearing went through.
Oops. God, I cannot type right now. Holy smokes. I'm also typing at a very strange angle. I don't normally sit the way I'm sitting. Trying to.
I can go through the complaint if you want to, or just tell you where to find the complaint.
Yeah, if what's the source? Who's sourcing this? Them themselves? Just them?
This is coming from the legal filings from the people representing JGG. But there was I don't believe there was any contest on that fact. And in fact, I mean, like a lot of the details from the government were actively being withheld from this court case because they felt that they had no obligation to share it with the courts. So, I mean, we just have to go off the information that we have here.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough for me until I see it all. I need to see the court's information. I need to know the exacts. I need to know, did these people try to seek asylum beyond the time frame they were allowed to do so? Is this their second time in the country? Did they commit any kind of crimes while they're, I mean, there's a lot of questions, man.
I feel like any of those questions wouldn't be enough to rob these people of the ability to challenge their designation as an alien.
Well, I feel like there's just information we're not aware of. That's the problem. Not yet. And you're jumping to assumptions of, oh, this is all bad. And I'm just sitting here going, maybe?
Well, I don't know. The judge in the case and the Supreme Court also ruled that it was bad. So, I mean, that case is as decided as it's going to get whenever the Supreme Court rules, hey, these people are entitled to habeas corpus, and you guys weren't providing that to them.
Well, I guess we'll have to see, because I want to see the details of each individual person and what the circumstances were.
Okay.
Because here's the thing: a lot of these activist judges are basing. They're not even like, especially these lower court federal judges. This is crazy. A lot of their reasoning is based off of like, I feel that it's unconstitutional, or I don't think it's constitutional, or if, or this. They're not actually, and they're not citing any actual constitutional like.
I mean, are we
like not citing any like articles or subsections or anything?
Are we gonna say that like SCOTUS are activist judges?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these lower courts, a lot of these universal injunctions that have been happening. Has SCOTUS ruled on this? You said SCOTUS ruled on this?
Yeah, SCOTUS ruled on this twice.
On it twice. I need to see this.
Yeah, because
I got to see the cases.
It appealed up. So the two cases.
What was the ruling on the SCOTUS? Was it 5-4? What was the ruling on it? 5-4?
I think the first one was. I think the first one was 9-0 in regard to them being owed habeas, but then it was 5-4 in favor of not allowing the type of litigation that they had. But they all ruled that they were entitled to habeas. It's just that 5 ruled that they were exclusively. And then
you know what's going to happen is Trump's going to just issue Article 1, Section 9. That's what he's going to do. He's just going to do it, and there's nothing the Supreme Court or any Congress member or anybody can do about it. That's what's going to happen.
I feel like, but
because it's just getting ridiculous, because he's being stopped at every turn he makes. He can't take a single step.
Well, on the grounds these are appropriate grounds, though, and you agreed that these were appropriate grounds.
But you know what's also constitutional and appropriate is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. That's also appropriate.
That's not morally appropriate, though. That's the problem.
I don't care about the morale here. I'm saying legally, we can just jump right into it, man.
You don't care about the morality
play games
of that?
with everything. At the end of the day, do I care about morality like in my own life? Sure, but I care about what's legally allowed and not allowed.
What about the morality in these people?
Well, here's the thing. I don't care. They're not legal citizens. That's the thing.
So they're
not
like
here
not
legally.
People?
No, they're definitely people. They're just not legal citizens. Did I say they're not people? Are you going to put words in my fucking mouth now?
You're saying that we don't owe them any moral consideration.
I don't think so. I care about Americans first. I don't care about these people. That sounds a lot like
they're not people, that they don't have any moral consideration.
That's ridiculous, dude. Do you believe in borders?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the point of the borders if people can just violate them at any given time, any which way they want?
I think that you are fine deporting these people. You just have to make sure that they can appeal to something to say, hey, I'm not who you're saying I am, or hey, I'm not an alien enemy, because we provided these rights to everybody that we've ever deported under the Alien Enemy Act, even the super morally condemnable Japanese internment camps. So I don't know why we're not providing those rights to these illegal immigrants.
At the end of the day, dude, I just want to know the exacts of each of these cases. I want to know what it was.
Well, the exacts of the cases won't matter if we suspend habeas.
Well, you're right, and I think we should at this point. I think Donald Trump has faced enough.
So you don't care about the particulars of the case.
Walls.
You just want to get these people out as quick as possible. I care
if they're illegal immigrants. Yeah, I want them out. Yeah, it's that simple.
Do you think they should have the ability to challenge their designation as an alien enemy?
If they are deemed to be illegal, as long as they do some sort of routing and find out, like, hey, can you prove that you're a citizen? Oh no, okay, bye. Yeah, I don't really care.
What about like if under the Alien Enemies Act, you can't just deport anybody. So don't you think that these people should be given the ability to challenge their designation as an alien?
They do get to challenge that.
No, they don't. And SCOTUS ruled twice that they didn't.
So if you're telling me that if you're telling me that they come and grab me, and I say, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen, my driver's license is blah, 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 my social security number is blah, blah, blah. I gave them all this information. They're just going to just throw it out. And where are they deporting me to? I'm a U.S. citizen.
Where are they
going to deport me to? They
were putting these people on planes to ship them off to El Salvador.
So you think I'm going to be shipped off to El Salvador at any given time? You think an ICE agent's just going to grab me and ship me to El Salvador? This is some fucking fear mongering, dude. This isn't psychotic.
You haven't pushed back against any of the facts that I've given either.
I have pushed back on it.
Under the Alien Enemies Act, you can't just deport anybody. Can we agree on that?
Under the Alien Enemies Act, you can't just deport anybody. No, you have to deport people that have come from certain countries. It is specific country based. Yes,
it's people from El Salvador that are a part of Tren de Aragua. Those are the people that are subject to the Alien Enemies Act.
In Venezuela, what's that?
The people who are subject to the Alien Enemies Act are Venezuelans who are a part of Tren de Aragua.
Okay, here's the thing. Again, I haven't seen any of these cases. You haven't either. There's no specifics. You're emotionally battling me. I promise you,
I've read these cases.
You give me a case then that you want me to bring up, and I will go over it and I will see if they were seeking asylum properly. Did they overstay their welcome? Did they outstay their visa? Were they criminals?
I've cited two of them. It was JGG versus Trump, and then WMM versus Trump.
Give me a plaintiff. Give me a defendant's name. I went through that JDD versus Trump thing. I didn't see any names or any specifics. So I just want to know.
You need to read the complaint.
I did. I didn't see any plaintiff. I didn't see any names. You just told me they were anonymous.
Over the span that we've talked, you read the complaint?
Yes, I went. I skimmed through. I was looking for plaintiffs' names. I didn't see, defendants' names. I didn't see any defendants' names. I'm trying to find specifics. That's
because
all
they're
I'm
going by
asking.
pseudonyms. Yeah.
Oh, how convenient.
They have the legal right to do that, right?
You think they're okay? You don't think that's weird?
I think it's way weird. I think it's way weirder to not give these people the ability to challenge their detention. I think that's way weirder than going by a pseudonym.
Well, I think it's weird that Biden left the doors wide open for three and a half years, but that's just me, bro.
I think that's weird too.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I need to see names. I want to see plaintiffs. And listen, some people are going to get lost. I agreed with you earlier. I said, hey, if they can challenge it, which they, by the way, do, they get challenged.
SCOTUS already ruled that they have that ability.
Oh, God. Were they here illegally?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. If you're here illegally, you've already committed a crime.
You need to meet 3 qualifications to be deported under the Alien Enemy.
Oh.
So if you only meet one of them, you can't be deported under the Alien Enemies Act.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If they're illegal, they get deported.
No, that does matter. If you deport people under the Alien Enemies Act, if they're not an alien enemy, it's illegal.
Why are they here illegally?
Didn't you?
Why didn't they go through the normal routes? Why are we prioritizing illegal immigrants? You know what's really happening right now
We're
is illegal immigrants are
prioritizing
tying
constitutional
up. No,
rights. That's what
shut up and let me talk.
That's what we're.
You want to shut up and let me
prioritizing.
talk? Don't cut me off. No, what's happening right now are people that are legally trying to do this properly are getting backlogged because all the illegal immigrants are tying up the courts. That's what's happening. So you have a bunch of people who are trying to do things legally, and now they're getting sidelined because we have to prioritize our court system to facilitate all these illegal immigrants who broke the rules. That's what's happening right now. How do you feel about that? You want to talk about fucking morals, dude? You want to talk about morality?
I understand.
What about the people who are trying to do things correctly?
That it's uncomfortable.
No, you don't understand.
I understand that it's uncomfortable to actually stand up for our constitutional rights, even if it's for people that you don't feel comfortable with providing it for. But to pivot off to, okay, well, should they have been here anyway? Yeah, that doesn't mean that we can just kill them, though. Like, if you need
First
to meet
off,
3
TikTok
qualifications...
language. You're smarter than that.
Sorry, unalive them.
Listen, these people who are trying to legally do it are meeting not just qualifications. They're passing tests. They're submitting paperwork. They're conducting background checks. They're waiting 5-10 years and even sometimes longer because our court system, our immigration court system, is being tied up by a bunch of illegal immigrants who try to cut in line. I could not give a shit. Throw them on a plane, send them home. That's where I'm at, dude. You want to talk about morality? You're morally inconsistent.
I thought you cared about
You're morally
legal.
inconsistent, dude.
I thought you cared about
You're morally
legal.
inconsistent. I do, and they're here illegally, so deport them.
That's not legal.
They're
what you're advocating for isn't
aliens.
legal. What you're advocating for isn't legal.
Yeah, we do rocket docket hearings. You take 1,000 illegal immigrants, you stuff them in a room. Hey, can any of you prove you're legal citizens? No? Okay, bye, go home.
Alien Enemies Act the thing that you're using to deport those people without giving them a trial? Is that the thing that
you're just a gigantic waste of time. You're morally inconsistent.
You just don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, is that
you're just a gigantic waste of time. You're morally inconsistent. You're a gigantic waste of time. Just wildly morally inconsistent. You know who I care about are people who are trying to actually...
That's kind of how I figured that would go. He just, he's super uncomfortable with providing people their rights. So, what a shame. What a shame.